Happy week 5 for the Draft Kings Main Slate. You've come to the right place.
Have they?
My name's Clark Lorensen. I'm here with the one and only Al Larcher. We are the Sports Addict Fantasy Football Podcast, the Daily Fantasy Football Podcast. The branding, we'll get that figured out by maybe week 9.
Yeah.
All right.
My name is listed as Air right now, so I'm going to change that.
Oh, hey, Air. Yeah. Well, I'll hand it over to Air himself. Here he is, Al Larcher.
Hold on, I'm switching this. Yeah, all right. Well, good. It's good to be here. The Cat, of course, shut the show off last week. I hope everybody listened, and they played some Rashard Penny, and they made a lot of money. It was a tough week because, a lot of the chalk hit. The Lions game went off. Hawkinson, who was probably the highest owned projected tight end, ended up putting something like 20, 25, 30 points up and just absolutely crushed the slate. So if you played the Detroit stack, which we were talking up here, you probably made some money, especially if you got some Rashard Penny in there. I faded a lot of chalk, and that game got steamed so high that I stepped away. I know I didn't play any Hopkinson outside of that game stack, and that hurt me. So because I play contrarian and the chalk hit, it wasn't a great week last week, although I got a lot of pieces right. This week, I'm not 100%. I'm not 100% done going through everything yet, but there's some pieces I like. Austin Eckler's in a smash spot with the LA Chargers against the Cleveland Browns. This is a guy whose work increase just keeps going up, and Cleveland is giving up the big plays at the running back position. So that's going to be a good play for you. Dalvin Cook, recency bias. He hasn't played very well. He hasn't put up any DraftKings points of note. He hasn't won any slates, but his price has come down. He's 7,300. His ownership is probably going to be around the 10% mark, and he's playing the Chicago Bears, who can't stop the run. So this is a get right spot for Dalvin Cook. I think things look really good for him here. And so he's a guy I'm going to want to invest in at the running back position this week. Damian Pierce is in a really sweet spot too. We're not 100% sure who this kid is yet. Rookie running back, but he looked explosive last week, had a big 70-yard run, and he's playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. And if you remember last week, Miles Sanders and the Philadelphia Eagles were able to run all over them. So Damian Pierce, 6,200, 10% ownership. He's a guy who's really popping in the model. And the number one running back on my model this week is Khalil Herbert. You get the price point, 5,900. And the problem is his ownership's going to be high. He got steamed up to 30% last week. He's projecting at 20 right now. That could go as high as 30 once David Montgomery's officially ruled out. David Montgomery did return to practice this week, so he is possibly going to play. So if he does play, Khalil Herbert's still a good play, but not a great play. I would start fading him. As a matter of fact, I would probably look to fade off him and maybe go to Kareem Hunt, who's a similar situation, who's getting 14 touches a game in a potent running game. And look, the Cleveland Browns are going to look to run the ball this week. So that's good for Nick Chubb, but that's also good for Khalil Herbert. So those are kind of what I'm looking at as far as running back goes. Breece Hall is also in a nice spot. Delvin Singletary, I don't know. That's a little thick for me. James Robinson, he's obviously in a good spot against the Houston Texans. And as I mentioned, Nick Chubb is as well for like the higher price stuff. As far as high price stuff, I'm a little worried about Derrick Henry this week. Not a guy who I'm sorry, not Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey. The San Francisco 49ers have been brutal against the run. They've absolutely shut down the position. Christian McCaffrey and the highest priced running back on the slate, I don't think I want any part of. Just looking at the what's been ran against the San Francisco 49ers. You just pull that data up here. I can go full screen. Hey, I'm not at work, I had some a British pop star in work tonight. So
you mentioned Damian Pierce, and I'm very excited about that, Al. In your year-long fantasy, the Tiki League.
yeah,
I tried to trade for him this week, so I'm with you on that.
nice.
For my year-long. I got denied. It was a bad offer on my part, but I'm not good
All
at
right.
trades. I'm not a trade guy, and we'll talk about that on our other show on Tuesday on the Sports Attic, probably.
I don't trade.
Where we do discuss year long. I didn't think you were a trader. I was going to offer
No,
you something, but I was like, he's just going to deny it and wonder why the hell did I offer him that.
I'm starting to be more open to trades. I understand there's like a benefit to it. I've just never found myself. I feel like when people want to offer trades, they're trying to get
Get rid of
something.
their bullshit.
Yeah, like
You,
so, and
you go
I feel like I
you
don't
go
like
look
taking
at
advantage of people.
when people, you can put people on the trade block. You look on there and it's just people that nobody wants.
Yeah,
They're the ones that are highlighted.
yeah. Like I'm trying to pawn off this Travis Etienne over there with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Um, no one, of course, wants him. Although, there's some projections that maybe he's going to get a little more playing time. Anyways, the San Francisco 49ers have allowed 8 points to the Rams. They gave up 25 points to the Denver Broncos, 12 points to Seattle, and 19 points to the Chicago Bears at the running back position. But remember that Chicago Bears game was in a monsoon, and that's all they did was run.
Yep.
You can beat San Francisco through the air. They give up a lot more points through the air. So yeah, I'm just not a big fan of Christian McCaffrey this week. And Derrick Henry, against Washington, it's an all right play. I'm not. It's not one I'm getting excited about, but it's a game. It's a play I'm going to play because obviously Derrick Henry has a real ceiling of about 30
Mhm.
points, and
Yep.
he has the highest ceiling of any running back this week on the board. Delvin Cook would be the second highest. Delvin Cook, I think, the better play to Derrick Henry at almost $1,000 less. You save $900, but you do pick up ownership. Nobody is. Oh, that's not true. You're picking up about 4 to 5% ownership savings with Derrick Henry, but with the $1,000 saving or the $900 savings, Delvin Cook, the better play. As far as wide receivers, I'm always looking more for stacks than anything else. But if you're looking guys who stand out of the pack, Justin Jefferson, obviously against the Chicago Bears. We don't have our number one cornerback this week. The rookie. So it should be a feasting day for Justin Jefferson, who's had up and down games. If you drafted him in the first round of your year-long league, you're probably not overly excited about what he's done because he put up 42 points week one, then he put up 10 points, then he put up 4 points against the Detroit Lions. Last week he bounced back against the Saints and gave you 34 points. This is a really good spot for him. I think it's realistic to consider maybe 30 points from Justin Jefferson, as the Bears are just god awful. The problem is that Minnesota could pull to a heavy lead early, and then they could fade on the passing game and just give it to Delvin Cook. So that's the only concern there. Cooper Kupp is finally on the board. He hasn't been in the main slate in a while. This guy is just like unbelievable. He's projecting to put up better numbers than last year, and last year was like a historic run
Mhm.
in fantasy. Week one, 34 points. Week two, 35 points. Week three, 16 points. Last week, he put up 30 points against the San Francisco 49ers. Targets, he had 19 targets last week. 19. He only had 6 in week three, 14 in week two, 15 in week one. So, I mean, 19 targets. I can't say that enough. This guy's averaging about 14 targets a game, which is just incredible. So, you don't want to give up on Cup. The price, obviously, it's very steep, 9,600. He's still projecting for about 20% ownership, even with that high number. Uh, I'm going to try to get him in cash. The price might be just too hard to be able to play Cooper Cup. And I might like Jefferson, about $800 savings. But there's a lot of big dogs on the slate this week. You have Justin Jefferson in a good spot. You have Cooper Cup against the Dallas Cowboys. Let me just kind of peek and see what the Cowboys have done defensively and against the pass. I think they're sneaky good, but I'm not 100%. Let's see here. Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, I mean they've given up. They've given up plenty of points at the wide receiver position. They gave up 25 points last week to the Washington Commanders. Um, they gave up they stopped the New York Giants, but it's the New York Giants. They don't have a receiving core. The Bengals put up 35 points on them, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers week 1 when they were still hot, they put up 39 points. So you definitely could pass on the Dallas Cowboys, and yeah, so that's a good play. And then you also have Diggs, who's just been his connections with Josh Allen. Gabe Davis is having some ankle problems, frustrating a lot of smart fantasy football players who are heavy in on drafting Gabe Davis. I think Gabe Davis is gonna bounce back at some point. I don't know where his ankle is just yet, but you can't deny the fact that Stephon Diggs is just an absolute beast. 8,400, 10% ownership. I'm going to look to stack him with Josh Allen. I don't know what I'm going to do with the run back in that game. I think I'll go with the rookie wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You also have Tyreek Hill against the Jets, Debo Samuel against the Carolina Panthers, AJ Brown against the Arizona Cardinals. Like there's just a lot of good receivers in good spots. Mike Williams with Keenan Allen probably not playing going up against the Cleveland Browns. So, spend your money wisely at the high end wide receiver. Probably going to punt a little bit at the running back position because the top dogs really don't scare me as much. The ceiling isn't as realistic. The best ceiling is probably Austin Eckler, Nick Chubb. You know, like I said, McCaffrey not in a great spot. Derrick Henry's in an okay spot, but Derrick Henry needs those two touchdowns to really get something because he's more involved in the passing game this year than ever before, but he's still not in a great spot. And then Delvin Cook, who we talked about, I think is in a good spot, but yeah, I'm looking more at wide receivers this week than running backs for my ceiling. All right, any questions as far as that goes, or do you want to move to the game stacks with the over unders?
Yeah, I was kind of wanting to discuss that. That's where I'm at still. This is the week, Al, that I'm finally going to take what we're doing here while I'm, doing some of the production stuff here, and I'm going to learn from you, and I'm
All
going to
right,
actually
nice.
apply it. I'm going to apply it, but in a better way than what I have for the first few weeks here. So let's
All right,
roll.
sounds
I
good. That's
like the
smart.
main slate. I have been having trouble finding, this early in the morning drinking my coffee. I don't know how you do this stuff. You do it every Tuesday when you wake up for the
Yeah,
evening show. As we've discussed, this is the near the end of your night and the beginning of my day.
that's
But
right.
let's roll with that main slate stuff. With the top over unders there.
Yeah. So what we do is we break down the games based on over and unders. We go for an hour here, so we'll get through as many as we can, just running down the list. This is a really ugly scoring week. The top over and under this week is 49 points. Nobody is projecting over 50 points in an over and under. Um, and the games really reflect that. There's not like a game that jumps out and you go, oh my god. Like last week, you had the Bills game,
Yep.
and that really jumped out, and it produced for the most part. But of course, weather played a factor in it, and
Detroit, Seattle.
yeah,
Detroit, Seattle, right? And we were on it. We were
Yeah,
on that.
we were on it. It was the old, it was a week with the hurricane, the remnants of the hurricane still coming through. Went ahead and it left a lot of rain and wind on the East Coast, and it took out a lot of high powered offenses. So the best game, of course, was the game in the Dome, which obviously makes sense. Which was the Detroit game.
Mhm.
It checked all the boxes, but again, ownership got too high for it to be a great tournament play. So I walked away from it a little bit. Looking at the weather reports, I don't see any rain. We got a couple dome games. The Chicago Bears, Minnesota's in a dome. That bodes well for Justin Jefferson. That bodes well for Delvin Cook.
How
Seattle Seahawks, New Orleans Saints is playing in a dome,
Yep.
and Dallas against the Rams, and the Eagles again in a dome against the Cardinals. So those are your dome games.
Quickly, what is the Kamara? He's questionable. How would I want to go about playing that? Is a backup good over there? Like I see like where do I want to be?
Yeah, I mean the Seattle. So they're playing in New Orleans. We don't know really what's going on with Kamara yet. Uh, let's see if anything new is
Well, then
broken
with that
here.
game, like is Penny's ownership will probably jump a bit this week. Is it somebody that you want to stay away from in that game? I don't know.
You know what, he's playing. He's getting out more snaps. He's holding off Kenneth Walker, the rookie who's challenging him.
Hmm.
Um, and Kenneth Walker popped up on the injury report this week. So it looks like he may have some shoulder issues, and Penny outsnapped Walker 45-25. So he's a lot more involved. So I like it. The problem is the Saints' run defense is decent.
Hmm.
Uh, they're not a team that I look to play running backs against, because they actually do stop the run fairly well. I could pull up their numbers here.
Yep.
Uh, Game logs, update. Let's give it a second here. It's the internet. It gets tired this
How does
early in
that
the
work?
morning.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we do this on Friday mornings because we want you to take us with you on your commute. Um, Al mentioned earlier, like Montgomery practice this week for the Bears, so that could affect Khalil Herbert. Later today, we'll see exactly
Yeah.
how much practice that is. Like, is he limited? What's he doing?
Yeah, Friday afternoon, the injury report drops, so that's where you're to get a lot of your good intel going into the weekend. The New Orleans Saints gave up 28 fantasy points to the Atlanta Falcons week 1, but week
Al,
2,
I would just like to add that although a lot more information drops later today, like listening to us right now is very helpful as well. Like this
yeah,
is going to help
absolutely.
set you up and get these names in your head, and let's get rolling. Take a couple notes as I do when I listen to my Friday podcast.
Right. So New Orleans gave up 28 points to the Atlanta Falcons week 1. They only allowed 10 points to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in week 2. And then in the last 2 weeks against the Cardinals and the Minnesota Vikings, they've held both running backs to 20 points. So, and that's collective.
Okay.
That's every running back on the roster. They've given up only 20 points of fantasy rushing. So Rashard Penny, not sexy of a play this week as he was last week. As far as Kamara, I mean, I don't know, man. Like I don't know what the exact word is, whether he's
Uh huh.
playing or not. Um, Likely to miss. Kamara it looks to be back. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and running backs have been able to run well on Seattle, averaging 5 yards per carry and 5 all-purpose touchdowns through 4 games. So, I mean, yeah, I think Kamara's going to get a full workload, and if that's the case, yes, he's valuable. He's somebody
Okay.
you definitely want to play, and you want to be ahead of the curve especially in tournaments. You want to beat the ownership there. So
Right.
taking a risk on Alvin Kamara when other people might be, saying, hey, let's wait, let's let him play a game and let me see how he plays before I go ahead and invest in him.
Right.
Well, that's generally not a risk you're going to want to take. Right now, Alvin Kamara is projecting for almost 20% ownership. So it looks like people are willing to take that risk and they're not going to be afraid of him. If that ownership sticks around 20% or goes higher, I actually probably would fade Alvin Kamara at that point because I want to be the guy who's playing him because no one else is because they're scared about the injury and his return. If he's not 100% and he's coming back and 20% of the field is playing him, I'm probably going to want to step away, and go ahead and move towards trying to get that Austin Eckler in or the Delvin Cook play. So,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I wouldn't I'm not too excited about it. All right, so moving on to game stacks. And if you notice, we haven't talked any quarterbacks yet, and that's because I like talking about quarterbacks within the game stacks. So now because they're usually the best plays are the ones with the highest over under because of course that's where the fantasy equity is. Philadelphia Eagles versus the Arizona Cardinals has the top over and under this week at 49 points. This game is going to be pretty decent. Kyle Murray has been bouncing back a little. The Philadelphia Eagles are projecting for 27 points. Arizona Cardinals are projecting for 22 points. It's a late game, so if you want to take some risk early in the day, and play some lower owned pieces, and if they hit, then you can move towards the chalk in this
Oh,
game.
I like that.
So it's good. It's good with these late stacks to be able to kind of play around them. Let's see here. James Conner, Miles Sanders. I think both running backs are playable. Um, Currently, their ownership is next to nothing. They're both under 5% in ownership.
Yep.
Not great plays, but when you have ownership under 5% and you have a game that possibly could shoot out, the running backs could very easily get involved. I don't think I'd play either of them in a game stack. I think I would look to play those running backs in other game stacks, but right now Miles Sanders is averaging 20 touches a game, 98 yards, has a touchdown in almost every game, and running backs have been able to run on Arizona. So, Miles Davis is definitely a guy who I've been looking at a lot in fantasy
Miles
football this
Davis,
year.
huh? I'll take Miles
Yeah,
Davis.
a lot of players just don't like playing Eagles running backs. They don't
I,
like playing Miles Sanders.
there we
I'm
go.
sorry. Yeah, thank you.
No, that's all right.
You know,
Miles Davis is great. I'm
the
in.
birth of cool, man.
There you go. Hey, you gotta throw it out there once in a while. I'm a fan.
Yeah, so
Listen to it.
Miles Sanders, no Barry Sanders. People are a little concerned about playing Miles Sanders, but 5% ownership and the workload he's been getting, I think this is a good play. Um, he's a guy who's getting a lot of work within the 20-yard line, within the green zone, so he does have really good touchdown equity. The Arizona Cardinals have allowed the league's eighth most passes per attempt and the
Mhm.
highest completion rate and the fifth most passing touchdowns. So this is a good week to be looking at maybe an AJ Brown, stacking him with Hurts. I mean, Hurts is an obvious play each and every week. I don't think I need to say that. He's a guy who
At
is probably
$8,100, obvious play. I like hearing that.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like that's probably too expensive for cash. He's probably priced out of the cash game at this
Okay.
point. But 8,100 in a tournament. The stack is very expensive. This is gonna be a hard game to play. You're gonna have to figure things out here because if you want to play AJ Brown, you're talking about 7,500. The tight end gets involved. Dallas Goddard. He's 4,700. 10% ownership. I think you might even just single stack Hurts to Goddard. But AJ Brown is in such a great position
Is
this
he Brown?
week.
I see he's at 5 to 10% ownership somewhere in there. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, between 5 and 10. That's accurate.
That that actually intrigues me that it's not 10 to 20. I mean, I guess it's the price, right?
Yeah, the price is going to hold him down. The
Mm-hmm.
price is definitely going to hold him down. Devonta Smith, 6,000. He's under 5% ownership. So, I mean, I think that's kind of a sexy stack. I know the chemistry just hasn't quite been there with Hurts yet, but
Mm-hmm.
when you're talking ownership that low and you're talking about a passing situation that's this good, um, it's kind of worth looking in. Uh, it's not my favorite play. Obviously, AJ Brown is where I want to get to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Goddard is in a good spot. Uh, the Cardinals have given up the third most fantasy points to the tight end position.
Okay.
So you know what? Forget what I said about Devontae Smith. You know that's garbage. Let's even with that low ownership, I am going to make some stacks with Devontae Smith, but the chemistry just hasn't been there yet. But the Goddard at 4,700. Now we're talking about really saving a little money, nailing down the tight end position, and then you can run it back with uh that's Rondell Moore. He came back week
Sure.
this was his first week back last week, and his usage is there. Rondell Moore at 4,100, 15% ownership. It's gonna be a little high, but he's a guy worth looking at. Tight end Zach Ertz is gonna have around 10% ownership. Another good back, another good run back option. I'm also playing Kyle Murray. He's under 3% ownership. Everybody obviously is going to want to play Hurts in this game stack, but Murray could get it done. You know, Cliff Kingsbury is just a shithead, and that's the problem with the Arizona offense. This is a
7,400 for Kyler, I see. For
Yeah,
Murray.
this is a guy, we people talked up and got all excited about when he first became coach. You've seen that a lot with young coaches. Even with Nagy in Chicago, everyone was excited after the first year, but then you start realizing these guys, they're just shitty coaches. And Kingsbury and his low A dot passing attack just isn't working. You see what Kirk is doing. He leaves the Arizona Cardinals, he goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the dude's a stud. And Cliff Kingsbury just had no idea what to do with him. So, F Kingsbury, F the Arizona Cardinals. But as far as game stacks go, like I said, under 3% ownership right now projected for Kyle Murray. Um, the dude has a real ceiling. He could put up 30 points. It's probably not going to happen, but again, 3% ownership is a risk I want to take. Uh, 58 attempts against the Rams, 49 attempts against the Raiders. So they're throwing. I mean, again, it's a lot of low A dot. It's a lot of underneath passes, slants and gimmick plays. But the attempts are there for the real ceiling. Um, and then James Conner. I don't know if I'd like that in the stack. You usually don't want to go running back in the stack unless it's a guy like Eckler who's involved so much in the passing game that you can't ignore it. But yeah, it's a good game. I'm not in love with this game by any means for a stack. I don't think I'm going to build like my small field stack, like the $50 single entry. I don't think I'm going to take on the Philadelphia Eagles, just because of cost, just because of uncertainty. There's a real chance that the Philadelphia Eagles they just steamroll the Arizona Cardinals. They put up a bunch of points quick, and they just kick it down to Miles Sanders. They slow the pace of the game down, and the run backs aren't great. I'm not really sold on any one Arizona Cardinal, which makes it hard to build a stack around because I just don't know, man. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not excited about anybody or their ceilings. So it's just a situation that I may um, be very hesitant to play, but it's definitely worth noting because it is the highest over under on the week, and I will have a little bit of equity in this game, But like I said, I'm not going full in. And the higher the ownership goes in this game, the less interested I'm going to become.
Fair.
But with the cost of the players, I don't know that it's really going to be a factor, anyways. All right, so not in love with that game. So let's go to the next over and under. See if maybe I could get a little more excited about the next team here. And what are we looking at? We're looking at
Chargers at Browns.
Chargers at Browns.
47.5 points.
This is a game I am excited about. This game gets me a little happy inside. My Nick Chubb is getting hard. Just thinking about the plays I could have in this game.
What now?
I really like Justin Herbert. I don't think you can play Jacoby Brissett. So, if I'm running a stack in this game, I'm definitely playing the Chargers side only. 7,100. Herbert, he had his injury. It scared us because we have a shared team in the FFPC, and he's our starting quarterback.
Yep.
I made the boneheaded move of drafting him over Lamar Jackson.
Ooh.
Because you had me all worked up because you were taking 2 hours to help me make a decision. So I talked myself out of Lamar Jackson and I went
it's
to
a
Herbert.
6-hour draft. I mean, come on, you need to take some time.
Yeah. Put the goddamn kids. You got to put them down for 4 hours.
Just like when lanes merge, all the lines are still there. They allow everybody to be in both lanes. It's the same thing here. When the lines merge, you're allowed.
All right. Well, let's merge into the fact that Justin Herbert is projected at under 3% ownership.
Oh, all right, there.
So
great.
This is the second highest over and under on the week, and nobody is playing the stack. Okay, that is tournament gold because you have guys with good ceilings in this game. I think you can honestly stack Herbert with Eckler. It's gonna be expensive. Eckler coming in at around 10 to 15% ownership. He's 7,800. Not going to be easy to do, but you can do it. Otherwise, you're looking at playing Mike Williams, who's in a great spot.
Would you
actually? That's not true.
That would be your sneak stack of the week.
Yeah, all right. I'll say it. That's the sneaky stack of the week.
Sneaky stack of the week. There it is. That's our new segment right there. Al's sneaky stack. No, wait, hang on. It's too
sneaky
early.
Stack of the week.
Sneaky stack of the week. It's easy to say.
In honor of Mr. Kim, and on whatever that show is, Kim's Convenience. The sneaky attack.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah, the Cleveland Browns are actually pretty good against the passing game, but they're missing a couple of their defensive linemen. It looks like Myles Garrett is going to be out. Javonte Clowney's having some ankle issues. Taven Bryan, a hamstring. Their middle linebacker, Anthony Walker, is on IR with a torn quad. So teams have been able to run on them really well. So again, Eckler, really good play. I mean, I can't say that enough. We talked about him when we were talking running backs. Now we're talking about him in a stack. I don't play running backs generally in a stack, but I am in this situation. Mike Williams is a good play. He's a good wide receiver. He's clearly the number one guy to go to in the stack.
Yep.
Especially if Keenan Allen isn't out. I think he averages something like 10 or 11 points when Keenan Allen plays. And I think it's somewhere between like 16 and 17 in games where Keenan Allen is out. So he's projecting a lot better without Keenan Allen. His ceiling's about 22 points this week. 7,100. Obviously you can't stack Eckler and Williams. So you're probably going to want to play a little Gerald Everett. He's under 5% ownership. He's used in the passing game. He's got a questionable tag, but I think he's fine.
Keenan Allen did not play yesterday, or did not practice yesterday.
Did not practice. Yeah, I don't. Keenan Allen's not going to play in this game, I don't think.
Yep.
So Gerald Everett's your next best play, 4,200. Most realistically, you're probably going to want to double stack without Eckler. So Mike Williams, Gerald Everett would be my go-to.
Okay.
I think the run back on the Cleveland side is pretty easy. David Njoku has been playing really well. He has good chemistry with Jacoby Brissett. They've been utilizing him in the red zone. He's projected at 10% ownership, which is decent. Not great. 3,800. Obviously, you're going to have to double stack your tight ends if you are playing Everett, which is a situation. If you don't want to double stack tight ends, something I'm not really a fan of. The next obvious answer is Amari Cooper under 3% ownership. There's just no ownership in this game, and there's guys with realistic ceilings. Amari Cooper could get you 20 points at $6,000. Mike Williams could get you 22 points at $7,000. And then Herbert, we know the dude's a stud. We know he could ball. He could get you 25 to 30 points at 7,100 and, finishes a top 5 quarterback on the week. So, I think people are going to be looking for higher ceilings, but this game has potential to really get rolling. If Cleveland, if the Chargers come out strong fast and Cleveland has to give up that running game, because again, Nick Chubb, great position, but if they have to abandon Nick Chubb at the running game and they're just throwing to Amari Cooper, wow, we got ourselves a tournament winner, and that's a risk I'm willing to take. Amari Cooper has been hot and cold all year because this team wants to run the ball. So when they can run the ball, you get in situations like against the Carolina Panthers where he puts up 4 points, or last week against the Atlanta Falcons, he puts up 2 points. Absolutely pitiful, disgraceful. 2 points from your number one wide receiver on the Cleveland Browns.
Yep.
But in weeks 2 and 3, he put up 28 points and 25 points against the New York Jets and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, if he gets involved in this game plan, we know Amari Cooper can play football. We know what he's capable of. So it's just a matter of opportunity. And the opportunity realistically can get there. So I do like this game stack a lot. This is a stack I'm probably going to at least play, 15% of my lineups are probably going to be on this game. As far as a single entry tournament, a 6,000 person tournament with like a single entry, I don't know yet. Like, I'm not there in deciding, but I'm definitely going to look at this game as a possibility. Looking at the weather, you're talking 66 degrees, partly cloudy with 14-mile-an-hour winds. That's the projection right now. So weather's not really a concern. This game this game has potential.
Al, when you're
Yeah.
playing in your max 150 team leagues, what percentage are you putting on somebody like Cooper there with that lower ownership, and if it hits? What are you doing?
Well,
I don't even understand. Is it 5%? Like, what are you doing here? How much are you playing them?
So there's certain players where I play only in stacks. And then
Okay.
there's certain players I will play in my stack and out of my stack. And then there's certain players who are on teams that like I might consider playing Darnell Mooney as a flyer this week. He's in a good situation. I don't know that
Yep.
I'm going to play Justin Fields in the Chicago Bears stack, so he's a guy who would play outside of stacks. So guys who have absolutely no restrictions. They can play in stacks, they can play out of stacks. Those guys, I'll play usually up to 20%. They can go as high as 30%, depending on their price point and ownership. But a guy like Amari Cooper, who I'm the only way I'm playing Amari Cooper is if I'm playing a Justin Herbert stack, and he's a run back. And because I also like Njoku, 100% of the run back isn't going to be Amari Cooper. It's probably going to be, like I said, I'd like to play maybe 15% of Justin Herbert. So you're talking maybe 10% on Amari Cooper and 5% on Njoku. So the answer would be about 10%. Now, the field has him at about 3% ownership, so I'm coming in way overweight on it, which is great tournament play.
Yep. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
I think that's all I got to say about that game. That's all I got to say about that, to quote Steve Austin.
Yep.
Yeah, let's go.
There
Let me
you
go
go.
back to the over and unders. Over and unders
Where
are,
you wanna go?
I use Fantasy Labs, and you got to scroll, to the right to find the Vegas section.
Now,
So the over and unders are not easy to get here. So that's why it always takes me a second when we jump between games.
right.
We got we got about 20 minutes left, so we can probably get 2-3 games out of here. We've talked up the Philadelphia Arizona game. I'm less on that than I am on the Cardinals.
How
I'm sorry, the
about
Chargers Cleveland game.
New Orleans hosting Seattle at 46.5? Does that sound about right?
Well, I have them listed at 46 on the over under.
Okay.
46 and a half. I have the Atlanta Falcons and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, me too. That'll work.
Would be my next game. And this is a game like this is a get right spot for Tom Brady. This is a game where I think you play Tom Brady, you double stack Tom Brady, and this is the Atlanta Falcons are a team you could do kind of what you want with against defensively. So yeah, like this is definitely a week to go ahead and stack Tom Brady and build a stack around him.
Wow. Okay.
It's going to be a situation again where once I start building a bunch of teams and a bunch of different stacks, I'm going to see where this measures up as far as ceiling before I get too excited about. But um, yeah, Tom Brady, he is having some problems with his shoulders. He's having some problems with his fingers. Um, but this is just a pass friendly environment for him. Um, as far as Marcus Mariota, I think you can play him as well. Um, I think the Tampa Bay. Yeah, I don't know. I think the Tampa Bay defense could really shut down Atlanta. I'm not excited to play the Atlanta Falcons. I don't know if I'm a full fade on Mariota yet. Who's been really disappointing. Every week he projects well in fantasy, and every week he just duds out. I think the hype and the hope on Mariota is a lot higher than the results. He had 20 points week one at 5,200 against the Saints, and I think everyone got excited about Mariota because not only was he passing the ball, he was running. But then against the Rams, he delivered 16 fantasy points. Against the Seahawks, he delivered 17 fantasy points. And then last week, where there was just a shit ton of hype that Mariota was in a smash spot, the dude puts up 5 fantasy points. In the Scott Fish Bowl, I have him as my quarterback too. Because I had to bench Justin Fields because Justin Fields was putting up negative points in the Fish Bowl. Last week, Mariota, put up negative points, and I just can't get right at that quarterback 2 spot. I'm struggling. So, yeah, I think I'm full fading this week on Mariota, even though my projections actually have him as a better play. Tom Brady is going to get owned. His ownership's projected about 15%. I don't think I will play this game stack that heavy. I'm probably looking at maybe 7% of Tom Brady in all my lineups.
Okay.
Lenny Fournette is in a really good spot this week.
Would it be crazy though, even though you're not going to Mariota, to run back with like London just because they'll likely be down, or you're not interested in that?
Yeah. I mean, you need the run back. I obviously when I play game stacks, I double stack 90% of the time, unless a quarterback has really good equity within their legs. Like a Jalen Hurts, you could single stack. Josh Allen, you could single stack, even though he's a good double stack guy. But when you're talking about pure pocket passers like Tom Brady, I'm double stacking, and I'm always bringing a run back, unless they're projected at so few points that it's just like there's no player worthy of playing. And I think absolutely Drake London is a good play. I think absolutely, Kyle Pitts is a good play. Everyone hates Kyle Pitts, man. He's the villain of fantasy Twitter. People, not bright drafting this guy, on hopes he was going to play well, and the opportunity is there, but the dude hasn't delivered at all. He does have a questionable tag. I forget what the injury was, but that's something to monitor. Um, and if he doesn't play, then yeah, fire up Drake London. The dude's a target monster. They just throw the ball to him, and he makes things happen. He's probably the best rookie wide receiver, in fantasy right now.
You
There's
mean
really no one else
what
worthy
about
of
what about
playing.
Velus Jones Jr. of the Chicago
Yeah,
Bears?
yeah. Nobody. I'm sorry. I told you it was a bad pick when they made it, and I'm
Finally,
sticking by
finally
that.
made his Bears debut, and special teams is where his issue was for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
He's the
boy,
next Hester, right?
this show is
Please.
obviously coming from Chicago, Illinois. There you go.
Kyle Pitts it's a hamstring issue, and he's missed most of the practices this week.
Oh,
So, I don't fuck with with leg injuries, with pass catchers with leg injuries. If you got an ankle injury, if you got a hammy, anything with the legs, I'm out, man. I don't want any part of it. If it's a shoulder, if it's an upper body injury, and you're a pass catcher, I'm okay with it. And then running backs is when I'd start worrying about shoulders. But yeah, so I'm not fucking with Kyle Pitts this week. I'm full on. I'm taking the trip to London. I was hosting karaoke tonight. Harry Styles is in town, and his opening act came in, and
well,
I've
the
already
show got
forgot.
canceled, right?
Yeah. The COVID. I think all the COVID kids came in, because they couldn't play tonight, so they all came. They all came to sing at Trader Todd's.
Oh, it was
But
canceled because they got COVID.
I think somebody was ill, so that they
Oh, I
took
thought
some
it was weather.
precautions.
Okay, all right. Wow.
Weather. It's in the United Center, Clark. What
Oh,
weather are we talking about?
I had no clue where it was. I saw somebody post about it who posts from near where you work, near Wrigley, and you're talking about it. So I'm like, oh, they must have been at Wrigley. But
Yeah.
no, they're down at the United.
The lady was Jessie Ware, So I had all these people with British accents singing songs. I got in a conversation with some guy. He's like, how the fuck can you not have Ozzy Osbourne? And I'm
Oh,
like,
that's amazing.
I go to him, I look him dead in the eye. I go, you mean the reality show star? And, he didn't
Oh
find that
no.
funny.
Oh
But
no.
these British are they really like their Black Sabbath and their Ozzy Osbourne.
That's
Um,
amazing. That's
but yeah.
brilliant.
So in honor of the British people singing tonight, I'm definitely going Drake London.
What's the name again of that opening act? Just for later for me.
Her name was Jessie Ware. Yeah,
Thank
she's
you.
actually like she had a top 5 hit in the UK charts, uh, and we actually had her song in karaoke. Like
Did you
her
really?
song was actually one of our karaoke
You know what?
songs.
That
So
would have been the first thing I would have looked at too if I was
yeah.
running karaoke. I would
Well,
have
the
gone,
first thing
"Hey,
I
do
do
you
is
have the song?"
Spotify.
Yeah,
I
sure.
go
And then you
I
look
go to
at the
Spotify and
listens.
see how many views she gets. Yeah, and she was at like a 500,000.
I
So
mean, if
like,
she's opening for Harry Styles, right? Yeah.
you're right, right.
Yeah.
She's somebody. I
Mhm.
just It's funny because she sang her song, and absolutely nobody in the bar who wasn't British knew who she was.
Wait, she
Everyone
sang
was
her
just like,
own song on karaoke?
yeah. She didn't. Her manager put her in. The manager tipped me $20 to get up there to get her up there to sing her own song, which I usually don't do with artists.
No.
Sometimes artists will come in. They play the Vic next door, and they'll come in, and their fans are with them, and their fans will come in, and they'll try to put the artist in for the
Oh, yeah.
artist's song. And I always tell them, I'm like, dude, the artists don't like doing that. Like, that's not like if so and so
Right.
wants to sing their song. We had Franz Ferdinand in one night. If Franz Ferdinand wants to sing their song, the dude can come up and tell
The
me.
song.
And he
Yeah.
didn't. He didn't sing Franz Ferdinand song. He sang Led Zeppelin.
Right.
Anyways,
I would
enough
say
about this.
I would say mostly they do, but the last thing on that real quick is that, what some folks may not realize is that the karaoke track isn't the original music. It's not the original band, the way that it's
That's
released. It's
that's
a
true. Yeah.
reproduction in a studio. So it depends on the version of the song that you have as well. Sometimes that would probably piss somebody off.
Yeah.
I don't know. That blows my mind. All right, back
She,
to this. The
she
week
pretty
five.
much laughed through her. She pretty much laughed through her song and kept. She put the microphone in my face to sing a little bit of it, but
And I
I had
guess
no
that
idea the
tells
song.
how much
All
she
right.
really wanted to do it. Thanks,
Yeah.
man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So So I again, this game is Tom Brady is the double stack. Chris Godwin I think is in a good spot. Julio Jones is dust. Don't even look that way. Mike Evans is always smash, and for some reason, Cade Otton, the tight end of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, is really popping in my model. He's projected for 12 points. He's 2,500. He's probably going to be a really good punt play. Nobody is playing him. He has under 1% ownership. So he has sleeper appeal. He's a rookie. Cameron Braid is in concussion protocol. So this Otten kid is has potential. There's still like a two-way committee. It's not like he's going to be the number one tight end. So it's not a sexy situation, but at 2,500, that's a damn good play. If the dude puts up 9 points, you cash the checks, man. Head over to the currency exchange and cash that check because it's paying. So
I
you
can't
double
even
stack.
find the damn guy here. Jesus.
Yeah, you double stack this Otten kid with Mike Evans and Tom Brady and Drake London, and then next week call into this program and tell us how much money you win and thank me personally as
Let me spell
the
Otten.
the El Rey of Draft Kings, because this is the winning combination. I'm telling you,
All right.
Otten is Otton.
I was thinking AGH. That karaoke thing was a sidetrack that I could get down, Al. That wasn't too much time, but I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah,
I don't know what the
if you're
daily
listening.
fantasy listener thinks.
Yeah, if you're listening to this program where we kind of got a micro machine talk through the plays, because we only do this for an hour. It's early in the morning and we want to get as much content out there as possible. But we do have a show on Tuesday nights where all we do is go off topic. We try to talk sports, but all we end up doing is talking about everything but sports. That's why we do this program.
There's
To
quite a
kind
few
of
people chatting with us through the different places that they say one thing and we're on to the next. Like they will throw us in a new direction, and I think they know what they're doing, which is great. That's fine. I appreciate it. But yeah, that's Tuesday night, 6:30 Central Standard Time.
So we have another game with the 47.5 over and under.
46 and a half, right?
Yeah, 46.5. Exactly. Way to be on top of things, Clark. And that's, of course, the Buffalo Bills carrying the over and under for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Buffalo's projected at 30 points. Pittsburgh's projected at 16 points. This is a game maybe you don't bring back. I said almost 90% of the time you do a bring back when you stack. This game, you may want to look elsewhere. You may want to look, at another team for the bring back. Josh Allen, obviously, I don't have to talk too much about it. Right now, he's projected at 25% ownership, which is insane for a quarterback. There's no way. I don't believe he's going to be that highly owned. But this slate is so weak at the quarterback position. He's 8,200. Jalen Hurts is $100 less in a similar situation. So yeah, I don't believe that Josh Allen's really going to be this highly owned. But you have very clear stack against the Pittsburgh Steelers. You have Stephon Diggs. You have Gabe Davis, who's been a letdown with an ankle injury. If this is a bounce back spot, then boom, this might be playable. But Stephon Diggs at 8,400, and then Josh Allen at 8,200. It's a very expensive stack. It's going to be very hard to play. The best run back is probably George Pickens at 4,300. He's under 5% ownership. If I'm attacking this game, man, the prices are so high. I don't even think I could double stack. Fryermuth is another play at 4,100. Dawson Knox, he's so touchdown dependent. Like if he gets 2 touchdowns, obviously he's a hell of a play at 3,600 and under 3% ownership, and he makes the double stack work. But I don't think he's had a touchdown on the air yet, so it's unlikely. I'm definitely going to have at least one double stack of Diggs and Knox. But I think I'm also going to try to just single stack this game. Give me Josh Allen, Give me the powerhouse. Give me Diggs. Give me Diggs. Give me Allen. I will run it back, and I think I'm going George Pickens or Fryermuth at the tight end position, depending on cost efficiency. But I think George Pickens at 4,300 um, is good equity. Like the dude's he's getting the targets. We don't really know what the chemistry is with the rookie quarterback. Now that dusty ass Mitch Trubisky was like, my God, one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen. The Bears traded up to get this guy. Like, let's never forget that fact that this horrible quarterback was a Chicago Bear that we traded up for. Kenny Pickett, I'm definitely not going to have any Kenny Pickett stacks. I don't know what Kenny Pickett is really capable of, but if he has any chemistry with George Pickens, I hate to say it, but the Pickens are slim for run back potential in this game. So that's probably why I'm going to play Pickens. 8 targets last week, 6 catches, 102 yards. Half the game I believe was with Pickens. I think Mitch got benched at the halftime. So, if that's the case, it looks like maybe they do have a little bit of chemistry. I didn't bother
Yeah.
watching this game back, in the 22s
I
because,
see. I see Deontay Johnson is questionable, and hear from Matthew Terrell 4 days ago. He said that it did appear that Pickett preferred to throw to rookie George Pickens.
yeah, I think that's good info. I think that's good intel right there. So I think my sole run back in this game is going to be George Pickens.
There it is.
I don't think I'm going to mess with Devontae Johnson, especially with the questionable tag. He does have a 20-point ceiling, and he is under 5% ownership. So I'm definitely going to have to take a second look at Johnson. But right now, man, I'm just leaning really heavy towards George Pickens. I think that's the play.
Okay, that's great.
And then again, Ellen Diggs. Don't overthink it. Don't try to be a genius. Don't galaxy brain. Just go with what you know works, and then figure out how to get off your ownership and money elsewhere. I haven't really gotten into cheap plays this week. I don't know how the board fits with some options. I mentioned Darnell Mooney in a dome. If by God, if Justin Fields, I mean, if they just could throw the ball a little bit, Mooney, I think he does have potential. I mean, he's 5K, so that's not like some super saving. Um, so that's going to be a situation this week is going to be trying to find value. I don't think there's really any value in the running back position. And again, I haven't really explored much the cheap options. Josh Reynolds, 4,900. It looks like St. Brown is going to sit again, which kills me in the Scott Fish Bowl. But 4,900. Josh Reynolds with a 17-point ceiling. That's a really good play. Right now, he's only at 7% ownership. I think once St. Brown's officially out, that'll jump to about 20% ownership because it looks like that's one of the few really good low-cost plays. Zay Jones, who has a questionable tag right now. I'm going to monitor that situation of the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's projected at 15 to 20%,
90 seconds.
15 to 20% ceiling, under 10% ownership. That's probably a decent play. Rondell Moore at 4,100 is a guy I'm probably going to look at. Juan Jennings, no, not interested. Yeah, man, there's not a lot of value on this slate right now.
Yeah.
It's going to take somebody getting injured to really steam somebody else up. Nelson Aguilar has a 14-point
60
ceiling at
seconds.
$4,000.
Yep.
But
What's happening there is the Blog Talk Radio live listeners over there on the audio feed. They're going to be, they will no longer be listening. The podcast, it's still there, Al, and the live shows, of course, we're still here.
Beautiful.
We can go a couple over the 60. 60 is the aim, of course, because I think that's about a travel for people in the mornings or afternoon.
Right. Let me see if there's a game that excites me here. And the Miami Jets game. Like, man, what's going on with the Jets? Zach Wilson, is he going to be able to get the ball to Garrett Wilson? If he could get the ball to Garrett Wilson, I think
10 seconds.
Shut that lady up. Just
That's
hang
it.
up on her. Would you
Yeah.
just hang up on that? This Teddy Bridgewater is a reliable backup quarterback, and it's a good scheme. I think he's gonna fit perfectly. I am gonna play some Teddy Bridgewater stacks. Why not? How many more opportunities in life are you going to have to play Teddy Bridgewater stacks? Tyreek Hill, great spot. Jalen Waddle, like who the players are who are going to get the ball. It's Waddle, it's Hill. So I think I like that game a little bit. Run it back with Garrett Wilson and just hope for the best. I'm not going to put a lot of equity in that game, but I'm definitely going to look at it. All right, let's go back to. There's no other game that really excites me. Houston, Jacksonville is kind of intriguing, but like you don't really have a quarterback worthy of playing there,
Right.
which makes it really hard to get excited about. Let's go Vegas. Let's
I
go
think
over
I'm
and
liking
unders.
Mike Evans out there at 6,900, projected at 18.1 points. Mike Evans to stack. Ownership 5 to 10%. Maybe sprinkle him around.
You're talking about the of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Is that Mike Evans?
Yeah.
Yeah, that price point it seems really low to me. I like that play as well.
What about this
Let's see.
Dobbs fella in Green Bay?
Yeah, Dobbs all right.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, what's the next over and under here?
I'm just jumping around a little bit myself. I'm looking at just some undervalued lists here.
We kind of talked Seattle, New Orleans. I haven't done a lot of my homework on that game yet.
What do you know that wide receiver there? That new one, Olives.
Great play, man.
Martini.
Like, get in on him. He's definitely, dudes who draft him in the year long are patting themselves on the back right now. He was a great play. He's still a great play. He's 5,700 with a 22-point ceiling. Like the dude's legit. He's a baller. Problem is, he does come with a little bit of risk and very high ownership. He's not a secret. People know to play him. 7 targets last week. That was a low. 13 targets in week 3, 13 targets in week 2. That's the number one. That's number one wide receiver targets in a team that plays in the dome on a week that they're home in the dome.
Yeah.
The dude's got great speed. If one of those New Orleans quarterbacks, whether it be Andy, the fucking Red Rocket, I don't know how he's still in this league. If Andy Dalton could get him the ball, or Taysom Hill can get him the ball, yeah, like totally worth playing.
Yep,
and
that's great. That Olives, Al, I grabbed him in my 8-team league, which is proven to be a very hard league. I've never done it before. There's just so many players available, and I'm like, shit, I want that guy. I need that guy. And then you look and you're like, well, do I? Hell,
everyone's a stud. If I ran an 8-team league, I think I would have a 30-person bench.
It's so tough. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, just let people draft, like just a massive draft, and let guys, so the free agency drives up a little bit. You mentioned Dobbs. That's Green Bay, right? They're not on the main slate.
Yeah. Dobbs.
They're not on the main slate. So
no, he's just he's on my list of undervalued wide receivers that I'm looking at here. That's why I mentioned him. I don't know much about him. I haven't really got to see much of Green Bay play outside of when Chicago played him. So
let's see. I don't think I'm going to play any Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think I'm going to touch really that San Francisco Carolina game. I do like some of the pieces. I think I mentioned I like Deebo Samuel a little bit. I think that's all I like out of that game. And he's got 11% ownership. The dude's got a 30-point ceiling. Yeah, and they're using him a little bit in the running game. Jeff Wilson's in a smash spot in that game as well. I really like Jeff Wilson Jr. I told you I'm not a big fan of McCaffrey this week. within that game.
Mm-hmm.
The Lions, the big winner last week, much different situation this week. They're going up against the New England Patriots, who aren't not a daunting task, but New England does play a little bit of defense, and it's in New England, so it's not in the dome. St. Brown looks like he's sitting again.
Mm-hmm.
I did mention I think Josh Reynolds is a good
Yep.
play. I'll stand by that. I think he is still a good play even in that situation. But yeah, it's not like I think that's just a bad play this week. The chasing the Detroit Lions, even though they've been a very good offense thus far. And when you look for good fantasy stacks, you're looking for um, bad defenses and good offenses. That's
Mm-hmm.
why the Detroit Lions are going to be very playable most this year because their defense is horrible, one of the worst. So their offense is very good, one of the best. So when they're healthy and that offense is in full gear, man, they can put up 30, 35, 40 points,
Yep.
and then whoever they're playing is going to have to chase and keep up with them, and they're going to be able to do that. Even bad teams are going to be able to do that because the defense is just that bad. So, yeah, definitely going to want to look at the Detroit Lions just this week against the New England Patriots. Not a big fan
Okay.
of that.
Well, kind of wrapping this thing up to put a bow on it, if you will. Earlier at the beginning of the show, you said one of the top guys on your models is Khalil Herbert. So,
Yeah.
being that we're here in Chicago, what are you going to do? Are you going to sprinkle him around? Is it worth taking in that game? Do you grab a Madison in thoughts that it's going to be a blowout and you can play him low valued, or is that going to be the obvious choice? Are you playing Cook a lot? Like, are you playing any of them? Is there a game? Are you giving it 3 games out of your 150? Are you giving it a few games or anything?
Like, because I try to be a good fantasy player and I try to be a data guy and I try to avoid stupid plays. I generally try not to be a homer, but come Sunday, I guarantee you I'll probably end up
Yeah.
playing a little bit of
Yeah.
Justin Fields because I can't help myself. Because I keep believing he's going to have this blowout game and nobody's going to play it. I won $15,000 playing the Denver stack with Drew Lock as my
That's right.
quarterback.
That's right.
Nobody touched it. Nobody wanted any part of it. So they let me have it, and I won all the money. That's sometimes all it takes. That was a field of, I think there were 250,000 players I beat that week in that game. So just insane. And sometimes you have to think like that, man. You got to look at the guys who have the 3% ownership, who have potential. And a guy who fits that build right now in that game is Kirk Cousins. Kirk
Wow.
Cousins, I think, is a
Holy
better
shit.
play than Justin Fields.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
definitely have a better projection.
yeah. Okay.
Kirk Cousins to Justin Jefferson. And you know what? Like, go crazy. Why? I say don't play the running back. Why not play the running back? Let's say the Minnesota Vikings just dominate the Bears, and they do it early. They throw. Justin Jefferson gets 100+ yards receiving. He gets maybe a touchdown, maybe 2 touchdowns. They're up 14 points, and then they just run the rest of the game, and then it's all Delvin Cook. It's gonna be a little too expensive to pull off. In all honesty. 8,900 for Justin Jefferson, 7,300 for Cook, and Kirk Cousins isn't free; he's 6,300. $1,000 less is Justin Fields. Justin Fields does have legs; he does have equity in the ground. The only wide receiver worth playing is Mooney. They found a little bit of chemistry last week. It's just, man, the dude's throwing for 15 fucking balls a game. It's like insane how little the Chicago Bears throw the ball. And, they don't have an offensive line is the problem. If you listen to the Tuesday show, I mean, this is all I talk about is the Bears offensive line is just, historically miserable.
Mhm.
Justin Fields last week was his high. The most passes he's attempted, 22 passes against the New York Giants. The New York Giants.
They're
So
just not passing. I keep thinking, oh, Getsy's just gonna, wait and make this bring out the guns at one of these days and just like they're holding back, and they're just
Yeah.
gonna show it off. But I don't think the kid has time. I don't think they have time to do anything
No.
out there.
Two touchdowns in 4 weeks he's thrown.
Well,
And
yeah,
both of those were in the first game.
wasn't he scrambling on him too? Like, I
Well,
mean, anytime he
the
gets yards.
the one positive is like you look for a quarterback with running equity, and last week he ran the ball 7 times for 52 yards. The week prior he ran the ball 8 times for 47 yards, and week 2 he ran the ball 8 times for 20 yards, but did get a touchdown. But
That's great
his
for fantasy to
his
see that
sack
can
total.
run.
Justin Fields was sacked 6 times by the New York Giants last week. The New York Giants aren't like, a world beater defensive line. We're talking about like little higher than mid-tier, maybe like the 13th best defensive line in football.
Definitely not the record for times that the Giants have sacked a Bears quarterback in a game.
No.
It's 2/3 of the way to Cutler's 9, if you recall that. 9 times he was sacked by the Giants in a game.
Thankfully, don't remember that.
9 times.
The Houston Texans, who have the worst rated defensive line in football, sacked Justin Fields 5 times. So, like, the dude just can't get any time to pass, and they're not looking to pass the ball. But let's say they do. If he throws the ball 35 times, hell, let's just say 30 times, all of a sudden Darnell Mooney is a real play and Justin Fields is a real play. So, you know what?
Maybe they're slowly bringing that in. I don't know.
Beat the field to it. Give it a shot. But the only reason I'm going to play maybe 3 teams out of 150 is because I'm from Chicago. That's it. That's the only reason.
Yes.
So if you're a smart fantasy player, I'd avoid this game. Now, my model, which I built through Fantasy Labs, which has won me, 2 tournaments, and I got a top 10 finish in the $3 max, the play action. I finished 6th in that game at one point. It's my Justin Fields is my second highest projecting quarterback behind Josh Allen. So take that for what you will. He's projecting right up there with Jalen Hurts. Taysom Hill's also projecting well. So, that you can take that for what it's worth too, that maybe this isn't the greatest. My model's actually very, very good at running back. And then wide receiver, I kind of like handcraft. And then quarterback, I build through my stacks. So, the specialty of my model is the running back. And, just for shits and giggles, my top projecting a running back this week is Leonard Fournette, Jeff Wilson, Damian Harris, Breece Hall, and Damian Pierce. Those are my top 5 running backs within the model. Now, I will do some things to alter that a little bit. Jeff Wilson, I like a lot. He's at 25% ownership right now. That concerns me a little bit. Lenny Fournette, 25% ownership. That concerns me. Damian Harris, it's the miserable New England Patriots, and they're split running back. They're running back by committee, and I like their other running back, Stevenson, a little better. So I'm probably not even going to make that play, even though the model really likes it. Breece Hall, though, he's questionable. That is a good play against the Miami Dolphins. 15% ownership. It's worth taking on. And then my 7th best is actually Eckler.
Okay.
So who again? That's my flag plan of the week. That's my favorite play is going to be Austin Eckler. So last week we nailed Penny. I usually like to go a little off the board and pick a guy who's usually a little lower owned and just a better play. But Austin Eckler, only 10% ownership, 7,800. He's expensive. Not a guy I usually like to play, but I think this week's a smash spot for him. So I'm gonna say Austin Eckler. I'm gonna say, I'll stick with the model. I'll believe in the model, and I'll go Jeff Wilson Jr. as my other pick. Those are my 2 running back plays. My favorite quarterback plays. I'm just not there yet. But Justin Herbert. You know what? I keep mentioning this Los Angeles Chargers Cleveland game.
Sneaky
I think
stack of the week.
that is my stack of the week. I mean, I think that's the one I'm going to put my most investment in, my most time building teams around. Vegas is telling us this is the second highest over and under, and there's a lot of pieces that make sense. Get creative with it, try different combination of guys, and then see what you can build around it. Teddy Bridgewater is probably my punt play of the week at quarterback at 5,400. I think you just get good value there, and it allows you to play, Hill or Waddle, or better yet, both, because you do want to double stack him. Low ownership play of the week is probably Kirk Cousins, we just talked about. I'm even looking at a little bit of David Mills, but that's going to be really thin if I do play it. Wide receiver, let's kind of look here. I'm not finished completely with my wide receiver plays yet, so I don't want to talk anybody up too much. My model is projecting Jalen Waddle as the best wide receiver play on the week. Again, my model strength is running back. It does okay with wide receiver, but wide receiver is something I usually like to handcraft. I like to really control my ownerships on and make those decisions. But I do have a 3.1 over projection in the model. So my model is actually fairly decent at wide receiver. It's usually pretty good at the punt plays. Zay Jones is the top projecting punt. So, yeah, Zay Jones, I'm going to be following that questionable tag. But if it looks like Zay Jones is playing and, he's going to be going full strength, Zay Jones is a guy I like a lot. Also in that game is Christian Kirk. And the dude's usage has been incredible. And the guy's just getting the job done. He's only 6,600. I like that play a lot. Nobody's going to be touching Tyler Lockett this week. 5,600 after kind of not a great week. I take that back. His projection, his ownership is projected really high. That surprises me. But he's projecting at 20% ownership. That's shocking. Huh. All right. Well, that's also a game I haven't really broken down yet. So,
well then, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Tight end is always like defense is, pick your poison. Yeah, avoid high owned defenses in tournaments. That's the only strategy that really applies. The highest owned defense in tournaments is never worth playing. Right now, it's the punt play. It's the Dallas Cowboys at 2,500, projecting at about 20% ownership. Way too high. Way too high. San Francisco 49ers against the Carolina Panthers, projecting at about 10 to 15% ownership. That's really high too. It's my model's favorite defensive play, but the ownership, you're just gonna have to fade that. I always full fade high owned defenses. It's just a smart thing to do. This week, Tyler Higbee is projecting at 30% ownership at tight end. That's usually a play I move off of. If I see really high ownership on a tight end, that's another full fade. So 4,300. I'm going to walk away from Tyler Higbee. Kyle Pitts has half the ownership of Tyler Higbee. Kyle Pitts has half the ownership of Higbee, but he also has the exact same projections. So, I know nobody wants to play Kyle or Pitts. The dude has been the Pitts, but it makes sense in a tournament. Hawkinson projecting well, puts up, the 20 plus points last week, just balls out. I can't remember if it was 20 or 30 points. I don't know. I didn't play him, so I just I only looked at him and other people kicking my ass who did play him because his chalk was so high. Again, I don't play the high chalk tight ends, and Higbee's that guy this week, and he could go for 30 points. But a high chalk tight end generally is more likely to fail because the volatility of the position is so high that it's just not worth taking the risk. If they end up balling out and hitting their ceiling or smashing their ceiling like last week, you take the L, man. You take the L knowing you did the right thing. And if you play a little poker, Clark, you got to know you cannot get tilted. As soon as you're tilted and you start questioning your process, you're going to fail as a gambler. And so don't, you take the loss. I lost last week. I lost big because I did not play TJ Hawkinson, and TJ Hawkinson was the puzzle piece that was absolutely needed to win your tournaments. And I also kind of walked away from that Detroit game because of the ownership. I played a lot of it, but I wasn't where I needed to be. 33 points from your tight end Hawkinson last week.
Wow.
So yeah, dude just smashed the ceiling, just fucking broke things.
Awesome.
That's not going to happen. Tyler Higbee's not going to do that this week. I could guarantee you that.
All right.
Logan Thomas.
Yeah. Okay.
Logan Thomas is in a pretty good spot. 3,200, 12 point ceiling with about 5% ownership. Juwan Johnson, the tight end for the New Orleans Saints, projecting well. The dude can play. We've seen him have some good games. He's at under 5% ownership. He's 3,000. Dawson Knox, man, I'm not playing that out of the stack, but he's projecting well. And then we talked about the punt of the week, and I think this is the key. I think you could play this guy outside of the game stack, and he's going to give you some value to make shit happen to win lots of money. And that's Kay Botton of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Right now projected under 3% ownership, and the dude's 2,500, and he's projecting at about 10 to 12 points. So
the punt of the week is Otten. All right.
Yeah, Otten's the punt of the week.
There it is.
All right, that wraps everything up.
There it is. Hey, great week, Al. Thanks for breaking
let's win some money,
down
man.
For me and for those listening. Yeah, let's do it. Can I ask you one quick question before we roll?
Yeah, me too. If anybody out there has Gisele Bündchen's phone number, I'm interested. I just want to put that out into the universe. So if you just want to DM me, hit me up, with some information. I am looking for Gisele Bündchen's phone number.
I don't know where to find it. Clark? If you had one tip for somebody who may be riding a bicycle in the rain for the first time last night and it didn't go well, what is your tip for bike riding in the rain?
Well, you got to have a guard on the back wheel. Otherwise, the water is just going to be thrown up by the back wheel onto your back, which is miserable.
My clothes are in the dryer, almost finished because of my ride home last night, my friend.
Muddy too. You'll get mud thrown up at you. So you have to have the guard on the back tire, which I think looks lame. So I won't do that.
Right.
I just suck it up, and you're gonna get wet. You get wet.
I think I got to buy like wet pants or something, or wet, Yeah,
you just got to drive. You got to ride with a change of clothes. When I biked every day, I always had a change of clothes in my backpack.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, y'all. We will be back next Friday discussing the Week 6 main slate. Best of luck this week. We will also be on Tuesday night live at the Sports Attic. We do that show every Tuesday night, 6:30 Central Standard Time. That is Al Larcher and Clark Lorensen. Join in on that. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a good day. Al, any final parting thoughts as we roll?
Yeah, my Twitter's at Larcher than life. That's LARCHERTHANLIFE. Any sit or start questions you have, just hit me up, and I'd be happy to look those over for you.
All right. Hey, have a good night. Have a good morning. Have a good day.
All right, buddy. I'm going to go watch a little El Rey.
All right. Enjoy.